The following film contains discussion or depiction of medical discrimination, body horror, ableism, racism, and an occasional flashing light. Viewer discretion is advised. The time has come, Corona said, to talk of many things. Of bats and stats, and wearing masks, and flattening curves caused by upswings. But wait a bit, protesters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath and need a moment sat. No hurry, said the pointed bug. They thanked it much for that. Take off your masks, Corona said. It's what we chiefly need. It's your right to breathe real air. It's very good for you indeed. Now if you're ready, humans dear, I can begin to feed. Not on us, the maskless cried, turning a shade of blue. After we helped you to breed, that's a dismal thing to do. I did my job, the virus said. Will they say the same for you? I weep for you, the virus said. I deeply sympathize. With sobs and tears, it sorted out those not immunized, holding out its spiked claws before its streaming eyes. Oh, humans, said the virus, you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again? But answer came there none, and this was scarcely odd because it had murdered everyone. Previously on Pretty Little Liars. I emailed earlier regarding getting some documentation stating that I've been vaccinated about COVID-19. I don't know, how about I just give you the money and you give me the certificate? Here's the thing. You've just entered a void instance. That means that in the near future, you were about to make a choice that would change the timeline in a way that would cause irreparable harm to the world that you live in. I'd really like to leave now. Don't you want your COVID vaccination certification? That's why you came, right? Gimme. Cruise time. Yeah, and we will. Next week. In part 2. COVID denialism. So, can I have that certification? Because I got some cruising to do. Literally and colloquially. You think I want to be here? Being on a planet with no healthcare makes me feel itchy. Yeah, well, it's not like we're the worst. For example, well, you know Venezuela, right? Heard of it. Can we get this over with, Doc? Part 1, the virus. The 7 recognized coronavirus infections that make people ill range from mild to severe based on the virus type. This virus family is known to infect various animals and is also known to mutate. Sometimes, coronavirus types that infect animals, including bats, civet, cats, and camels, can then mutate into a virus that can infect humans. This can have deadly consequences. Only 3 types might be fatal, and each one of these has led to a significant global outbreak. One of these is SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus that causes the disease COVID-19. The global coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak of 2020 was caused by the most contagious strain of a serious coronavirus yet. And on March 11th of 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Like a lot of lung infections, people with COVID-19 may experience cough, fever, along with shortness of breath. There have been some reports of patients with stomach problems such as diarrhea and vomiting. In the short term, about 80% of those infected may only experience mild, moderate symptoms, and 20% experience more severe symptoms, which may include pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and death. In the mid to long terms, some people, even those who had had mild versions of the disease, continue to experience symptoms after their initial recovery. Recovery here is a bit of a problematic term. These people sometimes describe themselves as long haulers, and the condition has been called post-COVID-19 syndrome or long COVID-19. Long-term symptoms may present as fatigue, shortness of breath, cough, joint, muscle, or chest pain, memory, concentration, or sleep problems, loss of taste or smell, increased heart rate, rash, and hair loss. Hair loss? Skip right past the other 20, eh? A, ew, are you Canadian? We're literally being played by the same person. What? I'm sorry. I wasn't aware I'd spoken. And although COVID-19 is seen as a disease that primarily affects the lungs, it can damage many other organs as well. This organ damage may add to the risk of long-term health problems. Imaging tests taken months after recovery from COVID-19 have shown lasting damage to the heart muscle, even in people who only experience mild COVID-19 symptoms. This may increase the risk of heart failure or other heart complications in the future. The resulting scar tissue in the lungs can lead to long-term breathing problems. And even in young people, COVID-19 can cause strokes, seizures, and temporary paralysis. People who have severe symptoms of COVID-19 often have to be treated in a hospital's intensive care unit, with mechanical assistance such as ventilators to breathe. Simply surviving this experience can make a person more likely to later develop PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Because it's difficult to predict long-term outcomes from the COVID-19 virus, scientists are looking at the long-term effects seen in related viruses, such as the virus that causes severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. Many people who have recovered from SARS have gone on to develop chronic fatigue syndrome, a complex disorder characterized by extreme fatigue that worsens with physical or mental activity, but it doesn't improve with rest. The same may be true for people who have had COVID-19. It's important to remember, however, that most people who have COVID-19 recover from the original symptoms quickly. Over 100 million people have contracted this virus, 57 million have recovered, and over 2.25 million have died. Ha! You just said that most people who have COVID-19 recover from the original symptoms quickly. You are so focused when you want to be extraordinary at just honing in on the exact bit of information you already believe and then putting blinders on to everything else. It's quite astonishing. You should be proud. Well, yeah, I did go to Harvard. Yeah, that says a lot. Thanks. I meant it says a lot about Harvard. It's a good school. Ben Shapiro went there, so. Wow. Jet fuel couldn't melt that logic. Just like it couldn't melt steel beams. Stop it! Okay, I'm bored. I wonder how I feel then, huh? Bored maybe? Ignored? Can we finish this, please? Sorry. Part 2. The vaccine. How does the COVID vaccine work? The way any vaccine works is by stimulating the body's immune system to recognize a certain virus and then murder it before it infects you. There are a few types of COVID-19 vaccines that are either already being used or in late stages of development. Some use an older method of vaccination. They introduce into the body an altered version of the virus in order to show the body how to trigger an immune response and teach it how to fight off the unaltered virus should it encounter it. While this is safe and you can't get COVID-19 from it, the much more popular in this case would be a type of vaccine called an mRNA vaccine. mRNA is the genetic code used by cells to produce proteins, like a little instruction manual for your body. Early on in the development of the COVID-19 vaccine, one of the proteins that was identified was the S protein, or spike protein on the surface of the virus. The protein binds to certain receptors on our cells, giving the virus entry into our cells and allowing it to reproduce. By focusing on that unique protein, we can teach the body to target the coronavirus without ever having to give the body the coronavirus itself. This is one of the reasons that mRNA vaccines are shown to be useful even against mutations of the virus, which are popping up around the globe. Those mutations will still have the S protein.
The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are both mRNA vaccines that code for this S protein. The mRNA is encapsulated in a lipid vesicle, a bubble of fat, that is able to enter our cells directly, releasing the mRNA for the S protein into our cells. Once in our cells, the mRNA gives our cells the info it needs to start producing the S protein, the spike. Then, the mRNA is gone from our body shortly thereafter, leaving behind nothing but a little instruction manual. The S protein created by our cells is then picked up by our own immune system, which recognizes it as foreign and begins to fight it off. Although the S protein itself is harmless, without it, the coronavirus can enter our cells. So we just changed the locks, honey. So now that our body knows to target the spike protein, we subsequently encounter COVID-19, our body recognizes those S proteins on the surface of the virus, destroys the virus before it can infect us. Yeah, it sounds great, and I won't be taking it. Even if it were safe, I don't trust any medication that was made less than a year ago. They can't know the long-term side effects. A lot of people feel this way, and asking these kinds of questions is exactly what we should all be doing. How did they even come out with this vaccine so quickly, when other vaccines could take years to make it through all the hurdles and red tape of the pharmaceutical industry? Exactly, Professor iPad over here gets it. Well, for one, researchers weren't starting from scratch. Scientists have been studying coronaviruses for over 50 years and had a wealth of data on the S protein, the structure, the genome, and the life cycle of this type of virus. In normal circumstances, different scientists work separately, not sharing their knowledge immediately, working towards different projects, even if they have the same goal. They have to fight for funding, and the process of gaining approval to move forward with projects is a long process and tedious amount of red tape, paperwork, and just waiting. That wasn't the case here. These weren't normal circumstances. Scientists in different countries around the world worked together almost immediately. In fact, it was only about 10 days after the first reported pneumonia cases in Wuhan, China, that researchers successfully uncovered the viral sequence of SARS-CoV-2. That was in January of 2020. The ability to fast-track research and clinical trials was a direct result of this worldwide cooperation. In fact, the first dose of the vaccine was given in March of 2020. It was almost a year ago now. And on top of all of that, vaccine research is freaking expensive. The cost of early development and initial clinical safety trials for a typical vaccine are estimated to be in the range of 31 to 68 million. Large-scale trials to determine the efficacy of a vaccine candidate would be even more, and that's just to get started. In an accelerated timetable with a new coronavirus, this cost was so much higher. For this reason, funding ranging from the government to the private sector was vital to the quick development of COVID vaccines. Governments around the world set up task forces that focused on getting us these vaccines as safely and quickly as possible. Government operations such as the US's Operation Warp Speed and the UK Vaccine Task Force partnered with institutions like their respective scientific and medical bodies to develop, manufacture, and distribute these vaccines. By providing the funds and assuming the financial risk, companies could now produce and stockpile vaccine doses before the company even knows if it's going to work. That way, when it's proven to be effective, they already have tons of it. That's how we're getting it out so quickly, although it might not feel very quickly. But they aren't even doing the right trials. They're approving these things under emergency use. Before any clinical trial can start, a data monitoring and safety board has to approve the way a study or trial is going to be conducted. A phase 1 trial focuses on the safety of the vaccine candidate. Escalating doses of the vaccine are given to healthy volunteers to determine side effects and tolerability. A phase 2 trial gets more volunteers, and they may start including people with health conditions such as cancer and diabetes in order to expand their knowledge of the vaccine's effects. They also get in volunteers from different demographics to get a clearer picture. The trial continues to test the safety of the vaccine and looks at the drug's initial effectiveness and how it affects the immune system. In phase 3 trials, they recruit thousands of participants to measure the effectiveness of vaccines in preventing disease. Given enough funding and volunteers, clinical trials commonly combine one or more of these phases. And funding and volunteers were not in short supply when it came to COVID. With COVID testing sites working daily all around the world, they had so many places to recruit vaccine trial volunteers. And and they had thousands of volunteers at the ready when the trial started. Well, you wouldn't catch me volunteering to be experimented on with a brand new kind of vaccine for a brand new kind of virus. Well, these mRNA vaccines are new, but they're based on a very long period of work on the existing COVID virus combined with newer methods of making vaccines. This is the norm in every industry. You build on existing technology with new techniques. You improve ways to get the same results faster or cheaper or more effectively. No vaccine today is made in isolation. We're always just building on what we already know works. You don't need to work from the ground up every time you create a new version of something. It may be new, but it's based on what we know works. Imagine if every time they released a new model of car, they were expected to also invent cars and car safety techniques all over again. And we know that's not how it works. Well, I'm gay, so I can't legally drive, and I'm young and healthy, so COVID wouldn't be bad for me. I'd rather take the chance that I get COVID, and if I do, I'll get my immunity the natural way. It probably gives you better immunity than some fat bubbles filled with IKEA instructions on how to make spikes would. That's actually a really funny way of phrasing it, right? But no. What would make the immunity better? What we do know is that COVID-19 has caused very serious illness and death for a lot of people. If you get COVID, you also risk giving it to other people who may get very sick or die. Getting a COVID vaccine is a safer choice for you and other people. And even if the immunity lasted longer or was more effective by contracting COVID, the long-term health effects and the risk of spreading it to others still means the vaccine is the better choice. Maybe not for me though. What if the side effects of the vaccine are worse than COVID would have been for me? Do you even care what happens to me? Or is it just boomers in old age homes that matter? Like, some people report getting a headache, or fever when getting a vaccine, but all these side effects are actually a sign that your immune system is doing exactly what it's supposed to. It's working and building up protection to the disease. You know what? Great. You've answered all my questions. I'm convinced. You two are basically angels, and you've changed my life for the better. I can't believe that I've been so blind, and all it took was having someone kidnap me and say facts for a week, and now I'm cured of having my own opinions. Can I have my paperwork now? Oh, hey, Miss Sarcasm. What's the dills, homegirl? We didn't think you would just believe us because we told you facts. Well, I'm really sorry that facts don't make me love vaccines like you do, apparently. Love? Yeah, I love vaccines. I'm in love with vaccines. I want vaccines inside me, filling me up. I want to stand in front of all my friends and family and marry my fiance, vaccines, under the eyes of God. People tell us it's too soon, but they don't know him like I do. They don't know us like we do. At night, I dream of my husband, Vaccine, and I adopting one of those shaggy white dogs with crusty eyes that white people love so much. That Christmas, he gets one for me. It smells. Are you done? I want a small, unassuming cottage that I retire in with my true love and soulmate vaccines. When I die, I want to be buried in one of those double plots where I'm 12 feet under and my husband Vaccines will be buried 6 feet above me, so we'll always be together even when worms are eating our eyes. I love vaccines. Okay, are you done? Yeah, I'm done. Okay, then go ahead. Vaccines. Okay, then go ahead. So happy for you, but your weird and frankly kind of gay monologues and your plethora of facts aren't going to change my mind. Yeah, we didn't think they would. And I can tell you why. Oh God. Are you going to tell me facts on why people don't listen to facts? Satan, save me. This is literally torture. Yeah, it is. When debating with anti-vaxxers online, people tend to take a pretty common approach. Most people try to address vaccine hesitancy using methods based on the information deficit model. The information deficit model works based on the assumption that the reason people have anti-vaccine beliefs or are vaccine hesitant is that they just need more information and change their mind. Information deficit model tactics would be things like debunking specific myths, telling them their beliefs don't make sense, sending them scientific literature or news articles, lecturing people or telling them about all the different harms that not getting vaccinated could cause. And there's the other tactic, yelling facts at people on the internet. I call this model the belligerently correct model. It's one that's probably the most appealing at the moment, but leaves you frustrated in the end when the person doesn't budge. More importantly, it's been shown that this does not work. In fact, not only does it not work, it's possible you're just going to reinforce their misconceptions. If you're like me, and you want to address concerns about vaccines to make sure more people get vaccinated, here's what works. Establishing honest and respectful dialogue. Acknowledging the risks of the vaccine, but balancing it against the risk of disease, and maintaining ongoing conversations with vaccine hesitant people that you know. When having these conversations with the vaccine hesitant, here's how to do it in the most effective way possible. Don't lecture. Do keep a chill, conversational tone. For example, don't express any extreme emotions when someone says they're vaccine hesitant. Relate, empathize, casually. Yeah, I used to be a little freaked out too, but not anymore, I get them all. Don't spend excessive time focusing on debunking myths. Studies show that this may have the opposite effect of strengthening the myth in the person's mind. Do focus on the facts and simply identifying the myth as false, keeping information as simple as possible. If the myth seems simpler than the truth, it may be easier for people to accept this simple myth. To make things simpler than the myth, don't argue the veracity of individual myths themselves. Instead, argue the flaw in the argument tactic. For example, why try and argue that the scientists at Big Pharma really just want to help people, which is something you can't easily prove, when it's simpler to say, their motive doesn't affect the vaccine. The people who make your seatbelts are motivated by money too. Doesn't mean they don't work. Don't avoid the topic of vaccines for fear of causing arguments. Do tell stories and anecdotes about deciding to vaccinate, the process you went through. Normalizing and increasing discussion of vaccines is integral to shifting conversation out of the anti-vaccine realm. Right now, most conversations about vaccines start from a place of mistrust. Change the narrative by not starting the conversation from a defensive position. Don't ask, are you getting the vaccine? Do ask, do you know when you're getting the vaccine? A presumptive approach helps to establish that this is the norm. It's what's expected. Don't dismiss people's fears. Do address how their fears are understandable, but not warranted to that degree. Don't argue on the internet. Do post photos and videos of you or your family being vaccinated. Debating anti-vaccine activists online one-on-one has shown to be ineffective and only leads to pro-vaccine activists burning themselves out. Debating anti-vaccine activists forces them to articulate their view, and in doing so, makes them more entrenched in it. Better is to publicly treat vaccines as a safe, normal, expected part of life. For parents, it's important to model for others both on and off social media that good parenting includes vaccinating your kids. What we need is high visibility, easy to understand, easy to share media that speaks to the wide range of groups that either oppose or have hesitations about vaccines. What we don't need is a bunch of people calling each other stupid in the comment section. When both sides end up slinging mud, their arguments start to look like they have the same level of legitimacy. It's not what we want. And remember, as good as it might feel to bully someone who you think deserves it, and they might, that does more harm than good. And if you're getting your rocks off by cementing anti-vaccine sentiment in the population, you're part of the problem too. I know it feels good, but we need to cut it the heck out. Vaccination certificate, now. Gimme. Okay, so those were the rules. Here you go. Thank you. But actually, thanks. You know, I'm really just doing what I think is right. And I just really want to go on this cruise. I spent a year stuck inside the house. It was awful. And I just need to feel real again. Yeah, we know. Well, good luck. May you lead an interesting life. Thanks. And I'll think about what you said. Oh, I kind of feel bad for not telling him now. You know we can't. We can only tell them what's in the present and the past. We did what we could.
Should we skip forward, see if it worked?
Yeah, moving us forward to New Year's now.
On New Year's Eve, a boat carrying about 60 attendees of a New Year's Eve circuit party in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, sank. Though no one was hurt during the incident, footage showing the revelers being rescued surfaced on social media, leading to an onslaught of schadenfreude and extensive memification.
Aw, like little gay marshmallows and hot chocolate.
The timeline showed that today there was supposed to be a super spreader event that killed hundreds, including several people integral to preventing the mass extinction event of 2022. It doesn't say anything about an accident. The ship wasn't supposed to go down. It looks like they sank minutes into the cruise, so whatever happened, the outbreak is gone from the timeline. This is impossible. Malaria, what did you do?
No things.
I think you might have done a terrorism.
Terrorism? Listen, nobody's perfect. Am I right? Let's get out of here, Doc. Where are we headed next?
Okay, yeah, let's get out of here. We're headed to same year, 2021, April. A trans YouTuber is gonna tweet something and we have to stop her.
That seems a little inconsequential for us, no? We'd just save the human race.
It's a long story, I'll tell you on the road.
Ooh, let's take the long way through 1998. I want to stop at the Rainforest Cafe.
Okay, yeah. Heading to Yorkdale Mall, 1998. So it all started when this YouTuber put out a video called The